A group of old college friends reunite for a trip to a forest in Sweden, but encounter a menacing presence there stalking them. The Ritual is up next on Inside Movies. Hey guys, welcome to Inside Movies. My name is George Michail. I'm a comic book maker, and I am joined by the editor-in-chief of Merc Publishing, Murphey, writer-illustrator GMB CHOMICHUK, and novelist Andrew Buckley. Thanks everyone for being on the show. Let's get into The Ritual. What do we like about this one? What's the good?
It had such a nice slow build, and it didn't fail when the monster was finally revealed. Like, we didn't see that damn thing for ages. Like a lot of horror movies, like they tease it, they show the monster, like, oh, that's a shame. This monster was so fucking weird that when they showed it, it was like, wow, that is really freaking fucked up. And it
Can I also add to your point, Andrew, that one of the best things about this movie, we'll go into the details of how we got there, but there's a moment in every monster movie where the hero has some moment where he's got to face the monster, and it always seems so ridiculous because look at that monster. You wouldn't just become a hero suddenly. The Ritual has the moment where the monster is revealed in full light for the first time, and the main character has a moment where he can actually see the thing he's been afraid of the whole time, considers, oh shit, it's just a creature. Maybe I can shoot it. Hesitates, and then gives it a shot. And all this because the cabin is in such flames that there's nothing to hide. The thing that's been hiding in shadow, the whole movie is now completely revealed, and then the character is able to take action. I thought that was such a perfect bit of storytelling.
This is, I think, my favorite horror movie. I just kind of happened upon it in, like a couple of years ago. It's October. We decided we're just going to watch scary movies all month, and we found this one. I had never heard of it before. And I had actually just watched a Blair Witch Project for the first time, like a couple days before. Number one, I loved the Blair Witch Project, and I think this really was able to kind of capture that anxiety and the hardship of just being stuck outside, and then to have something else there, and the way that they keep happening upon. First it's what, a deer that's up in the trees, just pulled apart, and then it's one of their friends, and then they stop at the cabin, and they have that night of all of them just having nightmares. Like, they made it seem like such a bad dream, and then brought the bad dream into reality, and it's believable. It's fucking terrifying, and they're so mad at each other kind of throughout, with like we talked about last week in The Descent. This starts off with a tragedy. One of the characters had a part in one of the other in friend of the group dying, and so they're out having this trip as a memorial for their friend that's dead, but there's this kind of this backing of resentment towards that person, which comes up more and more and more as they get deeper into this horrific experience. I love this movie so much.
And it was the ebb and flow of the story, the way that the way that it takes you through the woods, and they find the cabin. There's lots of sense of, oh, there's hope, and then no, there's not, and then there's hope, and like, no, there's not, and even to the point where I think there's only like 2 or 3 of them left, and they get to the edge of the valley, and they're like, oh, we're almost there, and then he sees like the fires across the valley start to light up, and he's like, oh shit. And so it's that, honestly, the entire thing. And even when they get taken into the weird little village in the forest, it's like, okay, they're people, not so bad. It's, at least it's a human foe. And then the fucking weird bastard child of Loki comes out and starts, sticking people on trees again. It's like, oh, there goes the hope again. That ebb and flow was done like so beautifully in this movie. It was great.
Also, have you ever seen the storytelling apparatus of the monster demanding to be worshipped in such a wonderful way? Like, even the people who seem to have caught our poor hikers, our hapless hikers, and are subjecting them to this horrible ritual, are themselves captives. And you figure out really quickly that they'd all like to leave also, but they're not allowed. They have to prostrate themselves, be penitent before this horrible pagan creature every night, or they will be killed, not because they actually worship it. It forces them physically to do that.
Yeah, so like the creature design is so cool. Like I had never
So
heard
awesome.
of, I had never heard of this character before. This monster, the Johan, I think it's called. It's dope. It's unnerving the way it looks, and I found the trauma that the friend is going through to be very relatable. You know, like you have your friend die just like right in front of you, and you're questioning like, why didn't I act? Why didn't I do something? And blaming himself. And I was like feeling bad for him. I'm like, dude, like you're not responsible for other people's actions. And I'm like, and then when the the guy with the glasses with the busted leg, when he's like says it's his fault, and they're like, and he punches him and he's like, we're not friends anymore. I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy. He's the worst. So I really like the characters in this.
And not only does that guy, you said he was a busted leg, like, come on, man, that was so dramatic. And you could tell that he was just that guy in the group that's just he's always the complainer. He's always got a problem. And of course it's him that would say, oh, this is your fault, because he saw a place where his friend had something that he was feeling self-conscious about in the most awful way possible, and he wanted to hurt him, and so he went for it. And that's like, there are people like that.
The dynamic between the friends was actually really well done, because they were all individual. They all had their own personalities, like you said. That worked really well as far as the story is concerned, especially when it's just the one dude finally by himself, but it took everything else getting stripped away for him to be like, okay, I am going to take some action. While he does question it from time to time and resists that, urge to be a hero, I love the part where he punched the little witch in the face.
Yes.
It was such a cool sequence. Because you're like, oh my God, what's he going to do? Is he just going to wuss out? No, punches her right in the face. Take that, witch.
He's marked from the beginning. And the subtext of the film seems to be that because he won't let go of his pain, they've marked him. The creature has marked him. He's reliving it. He's supposed to be there to worship this child of Loki at the end. He's been selected and chosen. And just because he gets a lucky swing with an axe doesn't seem to me like enough of a reason that he gets to escape. It would have been more interesting if his fate had been sealed by a creature of magical darkness than that, oh, well, I'll just fight it and then run.
Wait, he broke his own thumb to get out of his restraints. He punched the witch in the face.
Haven't you done that? Punched a witch, broken a thumb? Those are normal things.
I suppose. I think he earned it. I think he earned the right to escape.
If you like scary things, Greg and I have a series coming out this November, a one-shot actually, into your local comic book store called Cover of Darkness Origins. GMB CHOMICHUK, can you tell us a little bit about what you did in this project?
One day, George phones me up and says, ninjas and kaiju. And I said, yes. And he said, don't you want to know more before you agree? And I said, no. And we made the most batshit crazy ninja versus kaiju story I think that's ever been in comics.
Yeah, it is. It's super fun. So you get 3 short stories in this one shot that comes out this November. You need to go into your local comic book store today, though, and ask them to bring it in for you. So Cover Darkness Origins, link in the description of the video. Let's get into the bad. What do we not like about the ritual?
My bad list is very short. You get the forest going into the convenience store scenes, and I really, really love those scenes, but it felt like they didn't end up with a purpose. Like he was having these visions that took him back, but then those didn't really have anything to do with him escaping at the end. Whereas you talked about not really liking that maybe he shouldn't have gotten out at the end. Like, I think if they had been able to tie that somehow into the ending, it would have made those make a little bit more sense. They were beautifully done, and they gave you a lot of the character insight but I think that they just didn't end up having, there wasn't really an explanation for that all that much. And that's really all I've got, though.
I do agree with you, though, with those kind of him flashing back and remembering what happened. I felt like maybe they went to the well with that one too many times. I was like, all right, man, like I get it. You know what I mean? Like by the last times that they were doing it. I'm like, for me though, like my biggest criticism of it is that like not all the characters, there's not that many characters, only like really 4 characters in it, and I really only felt like I knew one of them. The guy with the glasses that twists his knee, I had a better sense of who he was, but I didn't understand like the stuff with his wife and what was going on with that story. And when he sees his wife at the end, why was I supposed to care about that? I didn't get it. And then the other 2 characters, you almost really don't know much about them at all. So it's hard for me to care about people that are dying when I don't really feel like I know them.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, is you've got your main character and then your secondary character who's kind of just butting heads with the main character, and then you have your leader and you have your guy who's scared. Like the other two friends didn't really have fully fleshed out characters. They were more of like plot devices. I love the leader character because it is he's from Downton Abbey and I'm obsessed with that show, and so I automatically was like, okay, I like this guy. And so I can definitely understand your point there.
My only the only weakness of the film is I think you have to see it 2 or 3 times before the rules of the monster become clear. And one of the most fun things about a monster movie is learning the rules of the monster, knowing it one step ahead of the cast, and then being able to shout, "No, you idiot!" And it was a little too muddled as to what's really going on. What is the creature really after? It wants to be worshipped. Okay. Who are these people? Why is that happening? And then how does he break the curse? It does seem a little bit too much by accident and not through his own intent. Although the other part of my brain could argue that him setting that fire does in fact shed a light, literal light on the monster, which allows him to face it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm full of shit.
I will say so the first time I watched this, as soon as the monster came up on screen, or probably more so when I finished the film for the first time, I had to go online and look up the monster, because while you do get a good look at it, it's very quick. And when I went and looked it up, I was like, this is so fucking cool. And now that, like I said, this is my favorite horror movie. So I've seen this 10 plus times. And now I really enjoy the design because I know it. But that first watch through, it definitely wasn't enough screen time to like really be able to grasp the entire just crazy, ridiculous design that they have for that. And I think they could have definitely given the monster a little bit more screen time, or maybe even just a longer reveal, because it's such an amazing design that I don't think I've seen. It reminds me of the forest spirit from not Spirited Away, the other one,
Princess Mononoke.
It's like the dark version of that forest spirit, and I love it so much. And yeah, they definitely could have given it a little bit more of a spotlight.
I guess to both your points, they never reveal really enough about. It's still unclear to me. I've only seen the one time, but it's still unclear to me as to what they were trying to accomplish. And what I read in my notes was, do all those people just live in the forest? Like, there's nothing really around. Are they just hanging out there? They have little huts and shit. Are they surviving there? Did they skip the dishes? How did they get shit? But
yeah, they can't leave. They can't leave.
Right.
That's
I assume
sort
not,
of,
because they have to keep feeding this pagan god thing. But none of that is ever fully clear. And when I went back and I did the same thing, I researched the creature and what they were talking about. All the rituals that they do throw there with all the things up in the attic and shit, they took a mishmash of stuff and kind of threw it together. So none of it is purely accurate to the mythology of that the Jotun or whatever it is, the child of Loki. None of that is actually perfectly accurate. They took bits and pieces of everything, kind of pieced it together, but none of it was ever super clear. I don't know that it had to be, because I still really enjoyed it, but it was a nitpicky thing that came into my brain.
I have a fun detail about this film that I think horror fans would appreciate. It was shot on location in the Carpathian Mountains.
Nice.
Which I think lends it a certain credence as a horror film. that many a pedigree, if you will, that many films will never have.
So another negative for me was that I wanted to see more monster, like Murphy said, but like by the time they like after like an hour of in the movie, I was like, all right, show me this thing. All right, like I've been patient, I've been good, I've done all my character development. Like, give me the monster now. And it was a little bit.
George ate his vegetables. Now he wants dessert.
George has been a good boy. I want to see the monster.
Yeah. Come on. All right. Let's get into the skinny. What's our final grades for The Ritual? I'll go first. I'll give it a B+. I thought it was a solid monster movie, and I did like the main character's arc. I like the creature design, but I felt like the supporting characters were not very well fleshed out, and also I wanted more monster. So kind of knocks it down from being an A movie for me and more into B. But yeah, B+. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
I'll give it 4.5 splayed bears in a tree. I think this is a solid horror film, very well executed, and all of my points are pretty minor as to my nitpicky bits to it.
I really enjoyed it. First time seeing it, I'd totally rewatch it. I kind of actually want to rewatch it. I give this 4 weird fucking creatures with hands coming out of its face, impaling people on trees, out of 5.
I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 healthy hiker legs. I love this movie. I will forever watch it during spooky season. I highly recommend it.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside Movies. I've been George Michail, joined by Murphy, GMB CHOMICHUK.
Oh my God, that was so funny, Murphy. I don't know why that got me.
And Andrew Buckley. Follow along on our Facebooks, our Instagram, our Twitters, all those in the description of this video, and Cover of Darkness Origins with story by me and art by GMB CHOMICHUK. Ask your local comic book store to bring it in for you. There's a link to that in the description of this video as well. Until next time, peace.